Thanks for joining me on this Sunday night. I'm meteorologist Jacob Dickey with an update for your weather forecast. It's our Sunday night live show. Every Sunday night you can join me right here at 8 o'clock. Around the digital roundtable, we get to talk a little more about the week's weather, cover some cool things, and learn a little bit. And in particular tonight, we've got to talk about winter again on the forecast. That's what we'll first start with. I do want to take care of some housekeeping while we're at it. First off, I always love seeing where you're watching from in the chat. So if you can, let me know where you're watching from. We'll get a few shout outs in here. Other housekeeping notes tonight. WCIA 3 News at 10 o'clock will likely be delayed. The Grammys are on CBS, so we may not get on TV until around 10:30 or so from what we've been told, but we'll follow right after the show from what everything I've been told. So we'll be a little late on the 10 o'clock news. If you don't want to stay up, that's okay. You can join us at 9 o'clock every Sunday night on WCIX. Jen Lask and Mark Maxwell have the latest updates for you on news. I've got you covered in weather. That's going to be our schedule tonight, but every Sunday regardless, most every Sunday. We missed the Super Bowl Sunday, but we're live here at 8 o'clock getting to talk about the week ahead. Thanks, everyone, for jumping on in there, seeing some folks check in. Scott from Paxton. We've got Rantoul checking in. Michael from Mansfield. Teresa in Champaign. Got some folks from out of the state down in Lawton. Sharon watching in. Lawton, Oklahoma. Taylorville, St. Joe, and Mattoon. I'd love it if you'd share this as well, because we're going to talk about, first off, most importantly, the wintry mix coming tomorrow and what it means for you as far as travel, impacts, and timing. Other things we'll follow up with them is we'll talk a little about some thunderstorms that follow. Believe it or not, we're actually going from some wintry mix Monday morning, but by Monday night, we expect to see some thunder and lightning in central Illinois. That's about as March as we can get. Then, where was today's rain? If you love trolling me and you love saying, oh, the weatherman was wrong, we were a little bit off on the rain today, and I'll explain why. It's a pretty interesting subject for that here. We still did get some rain, I'll say that, but not as much as we thought. And then we're going to talk about how we forecast. You know, we look 5, 6, 7, 8 days out, even longer. What are we looking at? What does that mean for you? We'll also talk about Wednesday's system. Wednesday in particular has my eye for another area of low pressure, and that will bring some severe weather down to the south of us more than likely. Can't rule it out in central Illinois. We'll cover it all. And then finally, some spring weather returning. Spring itself around the corner, of course. I hope you set your clocks forward. Last night, wild as far as, you know, losing an hour's sleep. The pets don't adjust, the kids don't adjust, but we as adults have to deal with that, the way things work. So another step, though, is spring forward. The sunset tonight close to 7 o'clock. It will set at 7 p.m. tomorrow night. In Champaign, it was at 7:05. In Springfield, 6:59 in Danville, I think, in the area. All right, let's get down to business. Again, if you have any questions, let me know. I'll keep my eyes in the chat. We'll go back and answer those questions at the end. I'll take a time to stop with this wintry mix and thunderstorms coming and answer some then, and then we'll kind of watch throughout. But we'll take that dedicated time at the end of our Sunday night show here, Sunday Night Live, to cover that. First off, this is our forecast for Monday. Tomorrow, that is. We'll have breezy winds. They'll start tonight. They'll start picking up here by about midnight, I think. And then we get a wintry mix in the morning. Some thunderstorms then by Monday night in central Illinois. Let's jump down and first talk about the wind. Here we are by 8 o'clock. Those wind gusts are going to start picking up pretty quickly here over the next couple of hours here. And we'll likely see some wind gusts of 40 to 50 miles an hour, maybe a little higher than that by Monday morning. Here it's 6:30 a.m. FUTURETRACK saying, hey, there's a 57-mile-an-hour gust. 54, 49, 52. We get the idea that there's going to be breezy winds out of the east late tonight, especially into the first half of tomorrow. By tomorrow night into Tuesday morning early, the winds will subside a little bit, not be nearly as strong. So there's our first thing, wind. That will play a role in our wintry mix, we think, here. In fact, let's jump into that now, the next thing on the list. Here's what we expect for wintry mix in central Illinois. You look at the map. A line from about Petersburg to Decatur to Mattoon down towards Marshall and Terre Haute. To the north, we'll have a chance to get some wintry mix on here. We'll see a brief transition to that wintry mix, maybe only a few hours, and we are expecting limited impacts. There is a caveat to that, though. As we watch, what we think may end up happening is we could still get a trace or a glaze, basically less than 1/10 of an inch on some elevated surfaces. There may be a slick spot on roads possible. That would primarily be bridges, if that's the case. The wind will help keep the accumulation down, but temperatures also are going to that, but we just can't rule it here. We may get a little bit at the top of some trees, maybe on some power lines, but it's not going to be a high impact event for us. It will be a bit of a nuisance and it may catch some folks off guard. Here's why. We think that, first off, let me just cover this real fast. We're looking, as far as the impacts go here, just a few slick bridges for travel. That's all. You'll know when that's happening, though, because it's likely going to be sleet that will be the problem for us here. We may get some fairly rapid accumulation of sleet in some spots, or at least some rapid downpours of sleet as far as it goes, and so that may lead to a few slick spots. Power can be fine. You'll still have school. You'll still be able to drive to work, but we just want to advise an abundance of caution if you're driving tomorrow, especially in the morning and early afternoon. If there's sleet falling, watch those bridges. We may get enough to overcompensate melting, because it's still warm out there. We've been warm the past number of days, so that's where our focus is. I did go ahead and put medium impacts on the board here. I upped it a little bit for areas along and north of Interstate 74, because I think with the wind and the sleet falling, that's the best area to get a few slick spots on bridges. And then in addition, when you have sleet falling in 40, 50 mile an hour winds, you can think of sleet. It's not quite like this. It doesn't form in the same way necessarily, but almost like small hail. You get some breezy winds and some hail. That may catch some folks off guard, and that's why we've gone with that medium here. We'll go low all the way down because still some areas of sleet may try and mix in at times here, but this overall seems to be a low impact event for us here in central Illinois. Let's time it out on FutureTrack for you and take a look at that. Here we are at 11 o'clock. We expect the rain to pick up after since the sun's gone down. So by midnight, probably looking at some light showers out there across the region. Notice by 4:30, see some of those yellow cores in areas to the west that are moving on in? Those areas of yellow here are what we expect to be more convective showers in nature, meaning instead of a low stratiform rain cloud, we've got more of those cumulus, those towers that start to go up a little bit. What that can do is add a little bit of oomph to that rain and help those rainfall rates increase a little bit. It also can tap into some cold air, the atmospheric profile, a little better to help get us some sleet that forms. You'll watch here as we go on through. Here's those yellow cores, but you already see a little transition to that purple color in northwest Illinois by about 7, 8 a.m. We are seeing a little bit start to mix in there. So probably in the morning rush hour will probably more than likely be fine. It'll be wet and windy, but the ice not a concern. As we go through mid-morning into the early afternoon, then you see a lot of purple on there. It looks almost scary a little bit. What this is those yellow towers. So you can see how there's those yellows. We've transitioned from rain to a mix of rain and sleet. Some freezing rain possible, but we get that sleet to come on down in spots here. And that's what we think is going to happen in central Illinois. We're using the window of opportunity from 7 until 2 for that here. As it starts to exit the area, then by 3, 4 o'clock, most of the rain is out of here. That wintry mix is done. Limited impacts, but with the wind and some small little ice pellets coming down, the sleet, again, it would be probably noisy if you're driving out in that. You probably will, some of you may be a little like, oh, wow, I didn't expect that. So that's why we're kind of mentioning it maybe with a little higher call to action than is needed here. But if it was a snow event, we'd be fine. We deal with that all the time. Freezing rain, even too warm. But the sleet will probably maybe freak a few folks out, I guess, for lack of better terms as far as it goes. Look at this. This is Tuesday morning, midnight. Monday night, Tuesday morning at midnight. Thunderstorms rolling on in afterwards. We expect these to be more elevated in nature, so there's really not a threat for severe weather with them. In fact, temperatures will still probably be in the 30s at this time as we get these thunderstorms to roll on in. Pretty neat setup for us here. Maybe some small hail. I'm not thinking we're looking that way, but we think there'll be enough in elevation or elevated nature of these showers and thunderstorms to give us some lightning and thunder. So that'll be kind of exciting, I guess. Seems like the most March thing there could be, right? We get wintry mix in the morning, a little dry time in the afternoon. Let's add some thunderstorms at the night, right? That's March for you. A little bit of a lion day as far as it goes here. So that will blow on through. By the time we get to 8, 9 o'clock, it's out of here. We'll advertise some lingering showers Tuesday morning on the board. Here's the good news. Let's talk about our temperatures. Our temperatures have been warm. We've been in the 50s for a number of days, so ground temperatures are fine. Our surface streets will more than likely be okay. If you get a heavy burst of sleet, there may be a brief window for a few minutes where there's some slick spots out there. The bridges would be the one thing where maybe the slick spots can linger a little longer, especially north of Interstate 74. But here we are at midnight tonight. We're still in the 40s out there. Tomorrow morning by 9 a.m., we get down close to or near freezing, and we only touch it barely before we start to warm back up Monday afternoon. So really, a nuisance event more than anything for us here in central Illinois. As we roll into Tuesday, we're still above freezing. We're not worried about any of that, but those temperatures still cold, 30s and 40s when those thunderstorms roll on through, and that's going to be a cool. I'll probably go outside and watch them when they happen, because that's pretty exciting to see such cold air and get elevated thunderstorms. It doesn't happen all that often, but that's what we expect for that Monday night, Tuesday morning time frame. So here's what we want you to know. Before we wrap up the talk of the freezing rain, there's a lot of you in here. Most of us will see rain. We expect rain tonight, tomorrow morning, through the day. Some of us may very well mix in some sleet. That would be generally from a line from Petersburg to Decatur to Mattoon, Charleston, and points to the north. So that would include Douglas County, Champaign-Urbana, out towards Clinton, Farmers City, McLean County. We'll watch in Ford, Livingston, and Iroquois counties. Maybe some snowflakes can mix in early, but impact's still low to medium, primarily because of the wind also being a factor. There's wind gusts during all of this. The rain and a mix of sleet will be 40 to 50 mile-an-hour gusts out there. That's going to make it more nuisance than anything. Watch the bridges. I'll stress that again. Just be careful on those bridges there. We don't have any big bridges really around here, but some of those overpasses may have just a few spots of ice. So, hold your steering wheel straight. You'll be fine. We'll get through tomorrow just fine here. That's the only thing I'm a little maybe low concern for, is those bridges. Then we get thunderstorms late. That'll be fun as far as a Monday goes here in central Illinois. All right, so we see the comments and questions. We'll get to more of some of the areas that are out in the west. There's some big snow on there. We're going to wrap that up on the wintry mix and freezing rain and transition now to our big storm system, kind of go down our list of things we talk about. Again, we spent about a half an hour talking about things. So if you want to stick around, we'd love to have you here. I'm going to teach you some things, show you how we forecast, get it more in-depth than the 3 minutes they give me on TV. That's why I love this time so much, and I hope you do too. Hope you enjoy it, of course. This is our area of low pressure right here. What an atmospheric beast that is here. The area of low is centered now in the Kansas-Colorado border, south of Goodland, Kansas, there, southwest Kansas. And very interesting. You see these blue colors? That's showing moisture wrapping around. There's a big snow event in Colorado and Wyoming right now. In fact, I saw a comment about Lusk, Wyoming, 2 feet of snow. Yeah, they're getting a historic snowstorm out there. There may be areas that are getting 2 to 4 feet before all is said and done, if not higher than that. In fact, some of the elevated areas may get 60 to 70 inches of snow in areas, if not more, in parts of Colorado and Wyoming. Big time snow event out there. This low yesterday was a little more to the west. It was over the Four Corners. So maybe you've seen on Facebook some tornado videos. There was some incredible videos from the Texas Panhandle of tornadoes that touched down yesterday from this area of low pressure. The good news is, as it pushes to the east, what's happening is it's actually what we call occluding. Basically, the warm air that would normally support a strong system being cut off. Cold air wrapping all the way around here. That's what you see these yellows are, cold and dry air. So this system actually is weakening it as it moves to the east. There'll be a small, low chance for some stronger storms on Monday, Tuesday in the south, but not really worried about it here as far as it goes. So that's kind of what we are watching, Sure, that happens, but we think there's enough overlap in central Illinois from this big area of low that gives us that wintry mix for some of us tomorrow as what goes. Now, we talked about, we said there'd be some rain today. We had some light showers in spots. It wasn't nearly as much. We're going to kind of flip things around here. This is what radars looked like throughout the evening here. In fact, if you've looked on our WCIA3 app or your favorite radar app, you've seen that there's been green overhead, but then you look outside and there's nothing there. Why is that the case? Well, there was a fly in the ointment for us here. I thought it would be there, but I didn't think it would be so substantial. As we zoom on in here, now we're looking basically across the Earth instead of straight down. So here's the surface at the bottom. We're going 2,000 feet up, 4, 6, 8, and 10,000 feet here above us. So if you're standing at the surface here, from the surface up to a couple of thousand feet, there's a layer of dry air that's in place. That green is showing up on radar. But what's happening is as the rain falls, it hits the dry air. That dry air will eat away at the rain. Slowly, over time, that dry air will shrink, will saturate the air more, and then once you saturate the air, the rain can fall all the way down. But that dry air really held on pretty firmly through the day today, kept most of us dry. It will erode entirely by late this evening, tonight, into early tomorrow morning as we get the rain to roll on in. In fact, as I back it up the other way, these heavier rain over here will be making its way in our general direction. And there's probably some light showers that are out there. But again, as we zoom in and pivot down towards the surface, that dry air kept things a little drier today. It happens. You can make fun of me if you want. That's where we missed it. I thought we'd have more showers today, but we'll get the rain. Don't worry. It will be coming. That's what happened. So if you're ever outside and you look at radar and you say, oh, it says it's supposed to be raining. It's not raining. It's probably some dry air closer to the surface. What happens is the radar, and the radar for us is over in Lincoln. The radar beam is shooting across the Earth, but it's shooting more at an angle. So it will pick up on some of those greens as the beams shoot slowly away from Earth, and you'll see that there. But radar doesn't see dry air. So it'll show nothing, and then it'll show rain. That dry air is hiding beneath it there. We usually can detect that when we launch an atmospheric balloon straight up, and that's what I've done here. I've drawn a skew-T profile. I showed you this once for a fog event, and it was kind of the opposite. This here, what we're doing is we're looking at height in the atmosphere vertically. The red line is temperature, the green line is dew point. This is pretty close to what it's looking like today. So you can see those white lines are indicating temperature here as we go with height. So that's 30 degrees. That's 40 degrees, that's 50 degrees. We call it a skew-T because normally, if there's any math teachers or you've got kids at home doing, geometry, normally you've got, vertical and horizontal. Well, a skew-T, we have to push it over so we can get a better look and understand what the atmosphere is doing. When you see these green and red lines together, we're saturated. That's where the rain is, up high in the atmosphere. When they're apart, it's unsaturated, drier air, and that's very much the case with what we're happening here in central Illinois. So I'll bring it full again for you to look. That dry air eating away at the rain, over time, the green line and the red line, if you look at this hour by hour, they'll actually start to close, kind of like a zipper. You're zipping down, and they'll come together, and that dry air will erode away, and then we'll get the rain to make it to the ground. So it's raining just a few thousand feet up in the air. How it works sometimes for us here. So that's what we have today. You can still get some raindrops in this scenario. This isn't a perfect representation of every single point. There'll be some localized areas where the air's a little more saturated and a little drier in pockets, whatnot. We only get a look really at one point of actually what the sounding looks like. That's in Lincoln. They launch it twice a day. They launch one at about 7 o'clock in the morning, 7 o'clock at night. But we can use our model data to kind of understand the vertical look at the atmosphere. Radar and satellite, we're looking horizontal. Vertical, though, is still important, especially for that dry air here. That dry air was quite a bit, had more oomph to it than I thought it would today, but still got outside and enjoyed it. It was a little cool. We had clouds stick around, but that's what we got there. In fact, right here is where those clouds would be when they saturate. They were a couple of miles up. Those gray clouds sticking around. So that will saturate. We'll get some rain coming into tonight, I should say. All right, so here's that system coming on in. This corridor of rain right here is really what will happen. There's some of these light greens showing up. That's going to come our way and give us some of the rain turning to a wintry mix into tomorrow out there. And so now what I want to do is talk about kind of forecasting in general. Big picture, we'll kind of look big and look out and look small, and I'll talk about where we are in all of these here. So we have a 7-day forecast at WCIA. Our 7-day forecast didn't have wintry mix at this time last week for Monday. We didn't have it. We were looking at the big picture. We noticed a pattern or trend 6 to 8 days out. We can say, okay, it's possible. What are our scenarios? What made it be like? So we're looking at big picture. I had a professor in college, Dr. Cordy. She talked about how, when we look at details, she used a forest as a representation. So 6 to 8 days out, we're looking at the big picture. We're looking at the forest from a distance. We know there's trees there. We don't know much about the trees. Are they coniferous, deciduous? What kind of trees are they? Do they have leaves? Are they diseased? We don't know any of that. We're just looking and like, oh, there's a forest way over there. That's where we're at in the 6 to 8 day window here. There's going to be some changes as we get closer here. Once we get 4 to 5 days out, if that pattern persists, then we really start to look at possible scenarios. Could we, in fact, get a wintry mix for us? It was on our radar here at WCIA, but our confidence was low last weekend and Sunday and Monday. We looked at it and said, yeah, there's a chance we could have it there. But the pattern persists. It started to look more likely 4 to 5 days out. I want to say it was Thursday. It may have been Friday. I think it was Thursday when we finally pulled the trigger on that, which would be about 4 or 5 days ahead of it. We said, okay, there's a chance for wintry mix coming Monday, and that's what we get here in central Illinois. Now we're kind of in the 2-day window. Today was more 1 to 2 days, but those timing and impacts become more clear. So we started to say yesterday, I said, 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. was our window of opportunity for a wintry mix. So that's how should we plan. Well, thankfully, we don't really need to plan much for that wintry mix right now. It's not really going to be a big impact event, but we're still able to have those timing and impacts become more clear whenever we're forecasting this far out, 2 to 3 days. 1 to 2 days, now we're understanding those fine details. We're getting some good high-resolution guidance, a very good, accurate look at things, and understanding how the atmosphere is going to react. Those fine details are important because then it becomes how should we react? And we're kind of in that 1 to 2 day window for our wintry mix. In fact, we're less than a day now. It's about 12 hours away. So how should we react? Well, going to the grocery store and buying bread, milk, and eggs, not how you need to react to this. You just need to be aware more than anything. We want to have awareness that some ice may fall during the day. So that's kind of a timeline for this wintry mix, what we thought. But let's flip over to our next system on Wednesday. Wednesday is, let's see, it's Sunday night, Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, 3 days away. So we're now coming out of the 4 to 5 days into the 2 to 3 day window here. We're starting to see those timing and impacts become more clear, and we're starting to understand how we should plan. At this point, I think we're more confident on timing and whether or not we get some stronger storms in central Illinois with the Wednesday round. And we'll talk about that here in a second. But that's kind of the big picture. I hope that maybe gives you a little insight into what we're doing as forecasters, what we're doing as meteorologists to look at the data and understand how things are going on. 6 to 8 days out is the forest. I didn't finish that analogy. Sometimes I do that. 6 to 8 days out is the forest. 4 to 5 days out, we're getting in a little closer. Oh, the forest has pine trees, and it's a little dry. There's a lot of dead brush in the ground. But we don't know much up close. 2 to 3 days out, now we're looking at the trees in the forest. We're understanding what kind of leaves there are, if there's pine cones on the tree. You know, we're taking a look more of those finer details. 1 to 2 days out, then we're looking at the tree, and we're maybe, how are those twigs and branches? What are the veins like on the leaves? Those finer details. Are there insect problems? What is that? It kind of gives you another analogy for how we look at this. The forest, the trees, the leaves, the veins on the leaves. Great way to look at it, right? Hope you learned something there. All right, let's talk more about our Wednesday system. First off, this is that Sunday low. I told you it was kind of weakening and occluding here. That cold front really pulling more to the north here. And so as it passes overhead, yes, it'll be windy, but that's because that low is occluding out and going away. It's the next one coming Wednesday night into Thursday that we'll have to watch, I think, because we'll end up being more than likely on the warmer side of it ahead of it. Some warmer air may pull in here. And I think we're looking at it primarily Wednesday evening into Wednesday night. That's a couple of things for us here in central Illinois after it blows on through. Still Thursday, showery and cooler on the backside here. Let's mention that. As far as Wednesday goes, we're in this 2 to 3 day window now where how should we plan? I don't really think we're going to have anything substantial in central Illinois necessarily. But what happens is as these temperatures climb, I've brought us back into the upper 50s. There'll be some spots down by Interstate 70, I think in the 60s. The further north you go, the cooler it will be. And that boundary may end up settling somewhere close to I-72. So we may be a bit cooler, just kind of depending on that exact timing here. It's a matter of 50 miles, 100 miles maybe at this point. But we do expect to cool down on the backside there. What we got is we're looking at 2 tracks for this here. That low comes on in. Do we take a more northward track or do we take a more southward track? And what does that mean for our forecasting? Well, let's say it goes a little more to the south. We're going down the south path. It's coming to St. Louis, stopping at the Arches, and then it goes to Effingham, takes a picture of the big cross at Interstate 70 and 57, and then it cuts to the east there into, Terre Haute, stops by Indiana State University on its way to Indianapolis to see the NCAA tournament. If it goes that route, here's what it means for us. We'd be on the cooler and cloudier side of things. We'd still have showers and rain regardless. I wouldn't expect to see storms under that scenario, though. And then that may give us an opportunity for a brief transition to a wintry mix on the backside if timing is right. That's the south track. We'll call it the I-70 track. What about the north track? If we take a little more northward, and I think we're probably going to go a little bit north. How far north, though, remains to be seen. It may also dive a little more to the south early on and kind of angle itself a little more at a 45-degree angle than, say, a 30-degree angle coming across. But the same idea here still, kind of plays out for us. Warm and humid in some parts of central Illinois. We may get into the 60s. Some dew point values may approach those 60s as well, so we're starting to get a little instability maybe. Some heavy rain would be on the table with that, even some thunderstorms. And I think that's going to play out. I'm really thinking this northward path, at least pulling in some more air in front of it, may very well be what happens here. And that would allow for some thunderstorms. Generally in this scenario, that would allow for maybe a chance for some severe weather in central Illinois. I'm not sold on that yet. Again, we're at that 3-day window. We'll watch as we get closer. To our south, though, this system looks like it's going to cause quite some headaches here. This is the Storm Prediction Center outlook for Wednesday and Wednesday night. That orange is a level 3 enhanced. The yellow is a level 2 slight risk. We go a 1 to 5 scale. To be so far out and have an area like that highlighted in Mississippi, Alabama, even Arkansas and Louisiana shows there's confidence for potentially some more significant severe weather. That very well may get upgraded to a level 4 category. We can't do that, though, until 3 days out. 4 to 8 days, we look at levels 1, 2, and 3. That's it. When we get 3 and 2 days out, then we can start looking at level 4 and level 5. I don't think we're looking at that, but just kind of give you a framework of what we're looking at here. There's still a chance that this may move a little bit around. But the idea is there that this system may cause some significant severe weather in parts of Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana, Arkansas, and potentially as far north as Tennessee, Kentucky, even into southern Illinois. Notice that slight risk is down there for Carbondale, Harrisburg, Paducah, over towards Evansville, and into the Missouri boot heel there along the Mississippi River. There's a chance it may come just a little bit north into our area. At this point, I'm not confident in that, and the Storm Prediction Center isn't either. But that's something that we've got to look at here. I will say this, though. There are still opportunities for failures for severe weather risk this far out. But the idea is that the overall big picture pattern, the forest of the trees, suggests that there will be severe weather. When we get down to, the leaves on the trees and the veins, what are some opportunities for failure? Well, I'll tell you one thing. First off, where that low goes, there'll be a warm front attached to it. That warm front will be a focus for severe weather, including tornadoes. And I think that's an instance regardless of what happens. There's questions on, is that low more to the south in Mississippi, Alabama? Does it lift north to Tennessee? Can it carry it all the way into Kentucky, southern Illinois? There's still some uncertainty with that. The other thing, though, is that the atmosphere itself will be very prime with lots of instability and wind shear, especially in that orange area. However, if I've got some folks that are watching from the Gulf Coast, down there we would forecast for severe weather, and then we would talk about the blob. The blob can sometimes be an area of thunderstorms that develops along the coast. And if that happens, usually what will be the case is you've got thunderstorms right here. You can think of it as a construction zone ahead of your car. The road's closed. You can't go any further. If you've got that line of storms there, the Gulf moisture can't race north as much. There's not as much instability. It will really help to limit that severe threat. So that's an opportunity for failure. If there's no storms down there, instability can move to the north. That Gulf moisture freely flows north. But if we wake up Wednesday morning and see that there's New Orleans is stormy and rainy, down towards Gulfport, Biloxi, Mobile, and even to the west towards Lake Charles, that's a sign that maybe it won't plan out to be as bad. But that warm front will still be a focus regardless of what happens. And that kind of gives you the big picture as far as it goes for our severe storm outlook here. All right, let's talk more about our jump back to locally here in central Illinois. Again, this is round number 1 through Tuesday morning. We've got rain. There will be a little sleet mixing in. I think that occurs from, say, Petersburg, Decatur, Mattoon, and points to the north. But it won't amount to a whole lot. We're warm enough. The ground is warm enough. It may stick for a little period of time. Some bridges may have a little slick spots, but you'll be fine if you're traveling. School will happen. You'll have to go to work. You have to do your things you normally do on Mondays. But just be aware with the winds coming in, some gusts of 40 to 50 on the table here. There's no plans for a wind advisory yet. They may add one tonight, and I'll check and see. I haven't checked the chat. If there is one added, we'll have it for 9 and 10:30 for our newscast tonight. I'll let you know. But regardless, that doesn't matter because the wind's still going to be 40 to 55 with those gusts. Sustained winds are 15 to 35. But that may cause some blowing ice pellets, catch some people off guard. Rainfall totals, though, for this first round coming in from tonight all the way through tomorrow, and then in the round of thunderstorms that comes Monday night into Tuesday morning late Monday night, Tuesday morning, that is, 1/2 inch to 1 inch. The next round then we think is going to be Wednesday afternoon into Wednesday night as it arrives. Heavy rain and storms Wednesday night, showers lasting into Thursday. We'll add another inch or so in some spots here. Some spots may see a little less, some spots a little more, but we're thinking the window of opportunity for this week's forecast, about 1 to 2 inches of rain with locally higher amounts here in central Illinois. All right, here's the countdown. Isn't that great? It's always signs of spring when I've got only 1 chance for a wintry mix and 2 chances for thunderstorms in the forecast. Getting there, not quite there yet. We've had big snows before in late March, early April. That's happened. Will it happen this year? Maybe. Who knows? If it does happen, though, usually it doesn't last long. Like a day or two, it melts completely by this point. So we're getting closer to where we don't have to think snow as much nearly anymore. The 8 to 14-day outlook for the first part of spring here, of course, the last 10 days of March shows maybe trending a little wetter, near normal average, and maybe trending a little warmer than average, near average in the area. So pretty seasonal weather expected. That usually brings some rain, some storms. When you see these oranges in place, that's a sign maybe lower chances, lowers the chance for snow. Probably trend more towards rain, but you know, we may get another one of those smatterings of some freezing rain out there like we're expecting with the sleet tomorrow morning. We'll watch and keep you updated, of course, but we're looking at the forest from a long ways away at this point. That's what we got. All right, y'all, this was the show tonight. That's what I've got for you. We're going to ask some questions at the end. Thanks for sticking out. I hope you've learned something. I hope you've understood the forecast more. I hope you had some questions answered. Had a little fun tonight. We try and spend about a half an hour every Sunday night at 8 o'clock going in depth to the forecast, looking at what's happening across the country, locally, and learning a few things along the way. We covered that wintry mix Monday morning. Again, impacts are limited. We'll watch it. Monday night, some showers and thunderstorms coming on in, a few thunder boomers. Not concerned about severe weather with that. We mentioned where was today's rain. That dry air ate away at it. We talked a little bit about how we look ahead. The forest, the trees in the forest, the leaves on the trees, the veins on the leaves. And that was a cool way to look at it. Wednesday's system, we'll talk a lot more about that here. We've got to watch it closely. I'm not confident about what's going to happen in central Illinois. We know it's going to rain and storm. Questions and still how that plays out. And then spring weather is returning. That's what I got for you. We will wrap this up. I'll see you next Sunday night. In addition, tonight at 9 and about 10:30, we've got the newscast. Hope you'll join us there, and we will see you then. I've got to wrap up quick because sports has had a big day. Brett's on the sidelines here, ready to jump on in. They're doing lots of coverage for things. So thanks for sticking with us. I'll check those questions maybe on the comments, but if not, hopefully you learned something, and we will see you next week. And take care. Have a great rest of your night.